Most people think value comes from talking, but the highest value people in any room rarely say much. Yet everyone listens when they do. Executives, elite operators, top negotiators, special forces leaders, they do not raise their voice. They raise their signal. Because real status is not communicated with words. It is communicated with behavior, silent behaviors. Habits so small most people miss them, but your brain does not. Your brain reads them instantly. Psychologists call this thin slicing. Within seconds, people decide if you are important or irrelevant, competent or average, leader or follower. The scary part. Most of that judgment happens before you speak a single word, which means the way you move, the way you pause, the way you react is constantly broadcasting your value, whether you realize it or not. Today, I'm going to show you 6 silent habits that instantly increase perceived value. These are the behaviors high-value people display automatically. And by the end of this video, you will start noticing them everywhere. Once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Chapter 1, the pause. Most people rush to speak. Conversation starts, their brain panics. They jump in, they fill silence. They explain, they ramble, because silence makes them uncomfortable. But here is what confident people do instead. They pause, not long, just 2 seconds before answering. Psychologist Nicholas Epley at the University of Chicago studied conversational dynamics. He found that people who pause briefly before speaking are perceived as more intelligent and more authoritative. Why? Because the brain interprets hesitation differently depending on context. If you hesitate nervously while speaking, you look unsure. But if you pause before responding, you look like you are thinking, processing, evaluating, and evaluation signals authority. Judges do this, CEOs do this. Negotiators do this constantly. You ask them a question. They pause, they think, then they answer calmly. That tiny pause communicates something powerful. My words matter, which means when they finally speak, people listen. Most people talk fast because they fear losing attention. High-value people slow down because they know attention is already theirs. But here is the problem. Even if you slow down your speech, your reactions might still destroy your value, which leads to the second habit. Chapter 2, the emotional thermostat. Average people react instantly. Something frustrating happens. They complain. Something unexpected happens. They panic. Someone criticizes them. They defend themselves immediately. Their emotional temperature swings constantly. Hot, cold, hot, cold. But the brain reads emotional stability as power. A famous study from Stanford on leadership perception showed something fascinating. The leaders rated as most competent were not the smartest. They were the most emotionally steady. Calm under pressure. Calm during conflict. Calm when others were emotional. Why? Because emotional stability signals control. If you control your reactions, people assume you control situations. Think about airline pilots. During turbulence, passengers panic, but the pilot voice remains calm, measured, slow. That calm voice is not just politeness. It is psychological reassurance, because the brain assumes if he's not panicking, the situation must be manageable. The same thing happens in conversations. Someone criticizes you, average reaction. Defend immediately, high-value reaction. Pause, listen, respond calmly. No emotional spike, no defensive tone. This habit alone separates amateurs from leaders. But emotional control is only half the equation, because people are also watching how you use attention. Chapter 3, selective attention. Most people treat attention like cheap currency. They give it to everything. Notifications, random conversations, every opinion in the room, every argument online. Their attention jumps constantly. But high-status individuals do the opposite. They ration attention carefully. And when they give it to someone, it is focused. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi studied attention and perceived competence for decades. One of his findings, people who maintain deep, uninterrupted focus are consistently rated as more capable and more intelligent by observers, even if their skill level is identical. Why? Because attention communicates value. If your attention is scattered, people assume your mind is scattered. If your attention is deliberate, people assume your thinking is deliberate. This is why high-level professionals do something subtle in conversation. They stop multitasking, phone down, eyes up, they listen fully. Not half listening, not checking notifications, complete attention. Ironically, this silence raises their value more than talking, because attention signals respect, and respect generates influence. But here is where it gets interesting. Attention alone is not enough, because how you move also communicates status. Chapter 4, controlled movement. Watch the body language of powerful people. They move slower, not lazy, controlled. Average people fidget, tap fingers, shift weight, adjust posture constantly. Nervous micro movements everywhere. Your brain reads those movements as anxiety. But controlled movement communicates confidence. Psychologist Amy Cuddy research on body language showed something important. Posture and movement change how people judge competence and leadership potential. Slow, deliberate gestures signal control. Fast, chaotic gestures signal insecurity. Think about elite military officers. They do not rush around. They walk steadily, turn slowly, speak deliberately. Because control of movement reflects control of mind. You can test this instantly. Walk into a room. Move slower than everyone else. Not dramatically, just slightly slower. People will unconsciously give you more space, because slower movement signals certainty. and certainty attracts attention. But there is another silent signal that changes how people perceive you instantly. And it happens before you even speak. Chapter 5, Comfort with Silence. Most people fear silence. Conversation stops. They panic. They fill the gap. They say something unnecessary, anything, because silence feels awkward. But high-status individuals treat silence differently. They allow it. Negotiation experts use this constantly. Chris Voss, former FBI hostage negotiator, teaches a technique called strategic silence. After asking a question, stop talking, just wait. The other person almost always fills the silence, often revealing far more than they intended. Silence creates psychological pressure. Humans hate conversational voids, so we rush to fill them. But the person comfortable with silence controls the conversation. Because silence shifts attention, and attention equals power. Watch elite interviewers, elite negotiators, elite leaders. They use silence like punctuation. Pause, observe, let others speak. That restraint signals something powerful. They are not desperate for approval. They are comfortable with space. And comfort with silence communicates confidence instantly. But even if you master all 5 habits, there is still one signal that separates high-value people from everyone else. And it is almost invisible. Chapter 6, Unreactive Listening. Average people listen to respond. Someone starts talking. Their brain immediately prepares a reply. Interrupt. Correct. Add their own story. Conversation becomes competition. But high-value individuals listen differently. They listen to understand. Psychologist Carl Rogers called this active listening. And decades of research show it dramatically increases perceived trustworthiness and influence. Here is what it looks like. You do not interrupt. You do not rush to speak. You absorb the information first, then respond thoughtfully. This does 2 things. First, it makes the other person feel respected. Second, it positions you as the calm center of the conversation. People instinctively trust the person who reacts the least impulsively because calm processing signals intelligence, fast reactions signal insecurity. Think about elite therapists, elite negotiators, elite leaders. They rarely interrupt. They listen longer than normal. And when they finally respond, their words carry weight because patience amplifies authority. But here is the real secret. None of these habits require intelligence or talent or charisma. They require restraint, which is why most people never develop them. Because restraint feels unnatural. Your brain wants to react, to speak, to defend, to fill silence, to move, to prove yourself. High-value individuals do the opposite. They control the impulse. Pause before speaking. Stay calm emotionally. Protect their attention. Move deliberately. Use silence strategically. Listen fully before responding. These habits look small, almost invisible, but together they create something powerful, presence. And presence is what people actually respond to. Not volume, not speed, not dominance, calm, controlled presence. But here is the problem though. Even if you start using these habits, there is something else happening inside your brain that can destroy your value without you realizing it. Automatic behavioral patterns, hidden mental scripts that make people look insecure without saying a word. And once you understand them, you will never behave the same way again. That is why I made this video breaking down the psychological patterns that secretly lower your perceived status. Watch it next, because once you remove those patterns, your presence changes instantly.